It's Brenda here with another video. Today I'm going to show you how I change the extension sets on my feeding tube. Now there are lots of types of feeding tubes. Mine is actually a Mickey button. I'll show you that in a moment, but first I need to tell you that I am not a medical professional and this is not a tutorial. I'm simply showing you the methods that I use to change my extension sets and the way that I have been trained. If you have a feeding tube and you have questions, please seek help from your physician. Now that we have that out of the way, let's move forward. In order to prepare, first you need to wash your hands. This is not a sterile technique, but you do need to be clean. Next, you need to verify that you have the right extension sets that match with your feeding tube. The extension sets get changed every 7 days. I actually have 2 extensions on my feeding tube because I have a G and a J feeding tube. When you flush your feeding tube, you can only use sterile or distilled water. The reason for that is because the minerals in tap water can actually break down your feeding tube. Now I only have one more note for you, and that's simply that none of the items that you will see in this video are sponsored. Okay, I went and put a tank top on just to make the recording of this a little bit easier. The supplies that we're going to need are sterile water to prime and flush the extension sets. Now, as far as the extension sets, I have 2 to choose from. So this is the Mickey extension set. Only these are 30 centimeters. The other one is also a Mickey extension set, only this one is double the length. It is now 60 centimeters. This is what I use for my flush cup. I pour the sterile water in here so that I can use my syringe and flush or prime whatever I need. This is my syringe, and this is a 60 cc syringe. And then I usually use 1 or 2 alcohol preps. Okay, time to get started. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put a tank top on so that it's easier to record this so that you guys can actually see my Mickey button and what I'm doing. Now, the supplies that we need, I've gone over, so now we're going to get the flush cup. And we're going to put some sterile water in it. That should be enough. Next, we're going to get our 60 cc syringe. And don't forget to take the cap off. I can't tell you how many times I've attempted to drop water with the cap still on. So, I'm going to take the cap off. Now, you can either use this syringe just like this, which fits the large end of the tip of your extension set, or this syringe also comes with this little cap, and it will hook onto the end, and then it will fit into the med port at the end of your extension set. But right now, I don't need this one. So, okay, let's go ahead and fill the syringe with water. And I'm just going to set that aside now that we have that ready. Okay, now it's time to get out the extension sets. This time I'm going to go ahead and use the 60cc extension set, or the 60 centimeter extension set, excuse me. And I need 2 of them because I have a G tube and a J tube. So these are the little bags that the extension sets come in. Okay, let's go ahead and open this one up. And we can take it right out of the package. Now on one end of the extension set, you can see that there is a larger opening, and then on the side of it is the med port, the smaller opening. So this is another mistake I've made. I have actually put the syringe in the end and never closed the med port. And as I was trying to prime my extension set, water was coming out of the med port. So go ahead and close that right now. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the second one. And this is the exact same as the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and close the mid port. Now on the other end is the connection that goes into my Mickey button and locks. So all you have to do is turn it in place and it locks so that it doesn't come out. I've never had any issues with these. They work really well. Okay, if we were to put these extension sets directly onto my feeding tube right now, they are filled with air, and well, putting the air into your feeding tube is a little uncomfortable, so you have to make sure that you prime these with water first. So I am going to put the syringe onto the large port of the extension set. And then I'm going to push the sterile water through the tube until it starts coming out of this other end so that I know there is not any air left. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and clamp that. And then I can unhook the syringe, set that aside, and I can go ahead and close the larger port as well. So now this one is ready. Let's get the second one ready. Again, I'm going to hook the syringe up to the large port. And push the sterile water through until it starts coming out of the end. Okay. Go ahead and clamp it. Disconnect the syringe. And close that port. Make sure all the ports are closed securely. And I'm going to double check the other ones, make sure those are closed. Okay, now we are ready to remove the old extension sets and apply the new extension sets. Okay, so this is a view of the middle of my stomach, and this is where my feeding tube goes in, and the extension sets are coming out of it. So I always have my extension sets clamped onto my shirt because they're very heavy, and it tends to pull on the stoma, which is the hole that goes into your stomach. The extension sets are a little heavy when you have two of them, so it makes it a little uncomfortable, but a lot of people use a little clip and hook them onto their clothes to hold up some of the weight so that it's not so uncomfortable. Now we are actually ready to go ahead and change the extension sets. So I am going to unbutton this so that I can take this off of the extension sets. Okay, that's off. I'm gonna close these, set that aside. Okay, let's go ahead and remove them. So first I'm going to remove the gastric one, which goes to my stomach. Now, I don't think you can see, but there is a little line that is back here. So I have to line up this line with the line that's back here in order to pull the extension set off. So if I just turn this, it disconnects. Now, if you are doing this right after you drank a ton of water or you have an absolute full stomach, changing your extension set is a little difficult. You have to be very fast. You basically have to remove one and have the other one ready right away. A lot of times when I change my extension set, I try to do it when I'm not so full. So now I'm going to take an alcohol prep, and I always try to clean up the end of it since the extension sets sit on there for 7 days. So I just wipe it off. Okay, now we are going to remove the extension set that goes to my jejunum or my J-tube. So again, this one, I don't know if you can see it, has a little line over here. So we are going to turn this line to line up with the line on the Mickey button. And then we're going to go ahead and pull that one off and set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and get another alcohol prep. And clean this one off as well. And I always try to clear the little plugs for each of them off with a little alcohol as well. Okay, oop. It looks like my J-tube is going to leak a little bit, but we'll go ahead and get the extension set put right in there. Okay, so here's one of the extension sets that we previously primed, and it's ready. The extension sets are both the same for the gastric G-tube or the jejunum J-tube. Okay, now just like before, we are going to line up this little line up here with this little line right here. And it pushes all the way down in place and then turns so that now it can't be pulled out. Okay, now we need to put on the other extension set that we primed just a little bit ago. And this extension set, again, there's the little line that I need to use, and it lines up with this little mark right here. So we'll just go ahead and match those up and make sure that this pushes in all the way, and then I can turn it so that it's locked in place and it doesn't come off. Okay, so that part is done. So I'm going to pull that down, but what I need to do is I need to hook my clip back onto the ends of my extension set, because these extensions, these are the 60 centimeter extensions. They're very long and they do carry a little bit more weight. So what I do is I undo the large port and I kind of stick this over so that I can close these. And now it kind of runs through the little loops on the back here. And I can go ahead and snap this closed so that now they're secured. And then I just go ahead and clip this to my shirt. Okay, so that is how I change the extension sets every 7 days on my feeding tube. When you first get your very first feeding tube, you can't have a Mickey button right away. At first, they have to put in a tube that looks exactly like this. It's a lot bigger than a Mickey button extension set. They use these tubes that go through your stoma into your stomach. At first, when I got my very first feeding tube, I only had a G tube. And the G tube that I started out with was exactly like this. I didn't have my J tube at the time. Now this is not the one that was actually in my stomach. This is a brand new one. So this is exactly what it looks like. There's a port for the balloon, because once you put it through the stoma into the stomach, there's a balloon that gets blown up on the inside of your stomach so that you can't pull the feeding tube out. So, like, it would look like my stomach is here, and then this little bumper is on the outside of your stomach, and then this is the feeding tube that hangs out. Now, it's not very cute, and it's very difficult if you have your feeding tube, it kind of sticks straight out because this is just so big and heavy and clunky. So it's not very pretty no matter what shirt you're wearing. The downfall to it is that there's no clamp on this at all like there is an extension set. So this is very messy. You open up, this is the larger port, just like on the extension, and then this is your med port, just like on the extension set as well. But when you unplug them, there's no clamp like on the extension set to stop any fluids or acids that come out of your stomach from coming back through the tube. if you're not paying attention, you can actually start emptying your stomach. It'll start pouring out of the end once you open it. So it's a mess. I hated it. The one good thing about these larger PEG tubes is that the tube is a lot larger than it is on the extension sets. And you have very, very, very few issues with clogs or having a thicker formula. It works real well with these tubes, whereas the extension sets, the tube itself is very small, and you tend to get a bunch of clogs, so you constantly have to flush every 4 hours. With this one, I didn't have to flush every 4 hours, but I really didn't like this big tube poking straight out of my stomach. I very much appreciate having the tiny little button. I hope you enjoyed my little remember when. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos, and I will see you next time.